The series begins with a large wrestling tournament featuring the strongest fighters from all over the world. The use of various weapons is allowed in the competition, and an intense battle ensues, with bones breaking and fighters pushing their limits. In the end, a powerful warrior emerges victorious and stands in the middle of the battlefield, challenging anyone who believes they can defeat him to step forward. At that moment, a young girl named Naomi steps out, boldly claiming that she is stronger than the warrior. The crowd is shocked and terrified by her audacity. The warrior, amused by her small size and beauty, laughs, believing he can easily defeat her. However, Naomi surprises everyone by throwing the warrior far away with just one hand. The crowd is stunned and begins to cheer for her. Enraged, the warrior attacks Naomi with all his might, but she effortlessly dodges his every move. She then grabs him by the leg, lifts him up, and throws him even further, winning the competition. The crowd chants her name in disbelief at what they've just witnessed. After the fight, Naomi's father is seen talking to a journalist, showing him a picture of his daughter who went missing 5 years ago. He expresses deep regret, feeling responsible for her disappearance, and asks the journalist to write an article about her. When the journalist inquires if his daughter has any special abilities, the father reveals that she possesses incredible strength, inherited from her mother and the women in their family for over 500 years. The journalist is amazed but skeptical, thinking the father is joking. The father then shares his story, explaining that 15 years ago, his wife owned a small restaurant, which she quickly turned into a successful business due to her sharp mind and ability to turn ordinary tasks into large-scale projects. As a young accountant in one of her branches, he fell in love with her, and they had a great romance. One day, she surprised him with an engagement ring, proposing to him, saying she would work while he stayed home, as he didn't like working anyway. He agreed, unaware of her extraordinary abilities. On their wedding night, he discovered that she could lift an entire bed with one hand, which terrified him, making him fearful of what might happen if he ever upset her. His wife explained that her strength was inherited and that she hoped to have a daughter to pass on this family power. She eventually gave birth to twins, and they soon noticed that even as a child, Naomi could lift a table with one finger. As Naomi grew up, her parents took advantage of her strength, photographing her and showing her off to the world until she got lost in the Mongolian desert. Her father tried to find her, but she was gone, leaving him devastated and filled with guilt, leading to his divorce from her mother. Naomi's mother, now a wealthy and famous businesswoman, decides to host a female-only fighting tournament, believing it's the easiest way to find her daughter. She meets two men who offer to sell her a 1,000-year-old sword, claiming it's a historic weapon. She doubts their story but agrees to examine it. When one of the men grabs her leg and begs her to buy the sword to pay for his wife's surgery, she feels pity and decides to give him charity money instead. But when the men see the gold and money in the safe, they become greedy and attempt to rob her. They threaten her with a knife, demanding she opens the safe, but she doesn't fear them. However, when one of the men calls her a fool, she becomes furious, breaking one man's leg and knocking out the other's teeth with a finger. Astonished by her strength, they try to escape, but she throws them out of her office. Later, Naomi returns home with the prize she won from the earlier tournament and asks her mother about the secret behind her strength. Her mother admits she doesn't know, explaining that they found her lost in the desert 5 years ago with no memory of her past. They decided to raise her as their own because they couldn't have children and believed she was a gift from heaven. Naomi's mother gives her a box containing the clothes she wore when they found her, and Naomi discovers a tag indicating the clothes were made in Korea. This sparks hope in Naomi that she might find her real family in Korea. Naomi begins watching Korean channels, hoping one day to reunite with her family. While watching a film, she hears a song her father used to sing, triggering a memory of her past, and she recalls her real name, Naomi. She tells her adoptive mother, explaining that she's actually Korean, but assures her that she won't leave and will continue to help the family. 10 years later, Naomi has grown up and is helping her adoptive family with their business. She has also learned Korean. Her father tells her it's time for her to go to Korea to search for her biological family, but Naomi is reluctant to leave. He encourages her, telling her that their situation won't change if she leaves. Meanwhile, Naomi's real mother is still hoping to find her daughter. She has been hosting the fighting tournament every year for the past 10 years, and this time, she's surprised to see a girl who can lift 120 kilograms. She believes this girl might be her daughter and invites her to lunch to get to know her better. She notices the girl's appetite and begins asking her questions, eventually concluding that they share the same blood. She then shares the story of how her daughter got lost in Mongolia when she was 5, and they both cry tears of joy, believing they've finally reunited. Naomi's real mother introduces her to the rest of the family, and they all share a meal together. She buys her new clothes and gets her hair styled, promising to provide anything she needs. But as the girl laughs, a sinister smile reveals that she's actually a con artist pretending to be Nami. Meanwhile, the real Nami prepares to return to Korea. However, she learns that the horse she was riding when she got lost has died, and she begins to cry as the horse was like a friend to her. She rings a bell with all her strength, sending it flying across the land until it hits a soldier named Chol. Naomi's adoptive mother goes to her office and sees a woman crying, begging for money. Sensing something suspicious, she orders her staff to give the woman whatever she wants. After changing her clothes, she follows the woman on a motorcycle to see what she's up to. She discovers that the woman is a drug addict trying to buy drugs with the money she received. At the same time, Chol, the soldier, is chasing the woman who sold the drugs, eventually catching her while the dealer escapes. Naomi's adoptive mother, meanwhile, confronts the drug dealer, ramming her car into his vehicle and capturing him. Chol is amazed by her abilities. When he returns to the station, his colleagues mistakenly believe he captured the drug dealer himself. But before he can explain, they receive news that a plane from Mongolia carrying drugs is about to land. Chol decides to head to the airport, unaware that Nami is on that very plane, returning to Korea. The plane encounters technical issues and can't land properly, causing panic among the passengers. Naomi, however, is fast asleep and unaware of the chaos. When she finally wakes up and realizes what's happening, she uses her strength to stabilize the plane, breaking open the door and jumping out to grab the plane and stop it from crashing. At the same time, Naomi's adoptive mother senses something is wrong and realizes that the girl pretending to be her daughter is not actually Naomi. Meanwhile, Naomi successfully stops the plane and saves all the passengers. However, there is someone on board who witnessed everything that happened. The police begin investigating to find out who is responsible for the drugs on board. When they reach Naomi, they open her bag and find horsehair, a tail, and a golden staff. The officer wants to check if there are drugs hidden in the staff, but Naomi refuses, explaining that the staff helps her find her mother and that she won't let anyone take it. When the officer tries to take it from her, he's shocked to find he can't even move it due to Naomi's strength. He politely tells her he's an officer and will just check the staff and return it to her. He also promises to help her find her family, so she agrees to let him inspect the staff. Naomi leaves the airport and wanders the streets of Korea, happy to be back. She rents an apartment while she searches for her family. Meanwhile, her adoptive mother orders her staff to keep an eye on the girl who took Naomi's identity and find out who gave her the information to impersonate her. Chol later discovers that the staff is made of pure gold and tries to call Naomi to return it, but she doesn't answer his calls. The next day, when Naomi wakes up, she finds that her money and phone have been stolen along with all her belongings. She leaves her apartment, not knowing where to go, until she sees people living in a tent in a field and decides to build her own shelter, just like she did when she lived in Mongolia. She gathers wood and advertising boards to construct a sturdy tent. At the same time, she needs a tall pole, so she breaks a large tree from its base and brings it, placing it in the middle of the tent. Then she goes to the station and files a complaint against the woman who robbed her. She also asks the police officer to contact Chol so that she can retrieve her belongings, but she doesn't know his name, so she describes him as a tall, handsome man. The officer is puzzled because she doesn't know how to help her. Meanwhile, we see Chol dressed in women's clothing, trying to catch one of the drug dealers. He was closely following someone he was very suspicious of and eventually sees 2 of the gang members distributing drugs to people. He begins chasing them with his car and, in the end, he succeeds in catching them. However, upon investigation, he finds out they were just local kids and not involved in drugs at all. When he returns to the station, the officer tells him that Nami was looking for him and explains that all her belongings were stolen. Chal tells her that if she sees Nami again, she should tell her to return to the station. Later, Naomi returns to her tent and finds 2 people have taken over her spot, people who were originally homeless. She feels a deep sadness and tells them she will build 2 tents for them, but on the condition that they help her live in Korea, because she herself doesn't have money or a passport. She builds the tents for them, and they are very happy, writing their names on them because it's the only home they have in the world. Later, rich people arrive at the scene, wanting to demolish the tents because they plan to turn the place into a beautiful park for recreation. A fight breaks out, and the wealthy people start beating one of the homeless individuals. Naomi becomes furious and begins defending her friends, grabbing one of the men by the ear and throwing him far away. The people present are astonished by Naomi's strength. Then the police arrive, and everyone is taken to the station. Naomi starts crying at the station, saying, "Life in Korea is much harder than I imagined. I've been saving money for 10 years, and now I don't even have a home." Suddenly, Chal arrives and tells her, "I've been looking for you." He takes her with him and gives her the golden stick that belonged to her. He also promises to help her find her family. He gives her some money to use, but she refuses and says, "I want to work for it myself." Chal is impressed by her words and her way of thinking. He shows her his apartment and says, "You can come here anytime you need me." She thanks him because he treats her well, and then leaves. Chal returns to his house and starts listening to music and dancing. Meanwhile, Naomi discovers her powers and starts laughing. On the other side, we see the woman pretending to be Naomi sitting with the gang, saying, "I've already stolen 100 million and I need your help to steal the rest before the real Nami shows up." We then learn that Nami's mother's assistant had planted a listening device in the room, and once she hears everything, she goes to Nami's mother and tells her everything. Nami's mother instructs her to keep following the trail because she feels that her daughter Nami is still in Korea. The next day, Chal visits Nami and brings her a mobile phone so that she can contact him. He tells her she needs the phone to take photos because she's required to make a passport. He gives her the address of a photo studio, and it turns out that her father owns the studio. But when she arrives, he is about to close it. When he sees her, he feels a strange recognition and decides to keep the studio open for her sake. However, Nami receives a call from Chal informing her that he has captured the woman who was a thief. She is thrilled and thanks him before leaving. Chal tries to ask her name, but she leaves before he gets the chance. Nami is headed to the police station to retrieve her confiscated belongings. However, she unexpectedly runs into the wife of the man she beat up the day before. The wife wants to press charges against Nami because her husband is in the hospital due to the beating. At this point, Chal, who is nearby, is skeptical that someone as beautiful as Nami could inflict such damage on a grown man, let alone defeat him in a single punch. Nami confesses, stating that the man had tried to throw her out of the tent first, leading her to defend herself. Nami offers compensation for the medical bills and leaves the police station. Meanwhile, Chal watches a video of Nami building her tent and notices she uprooted a tree entirely by herself. It dawns on him that she has immense strength. At the same time, the female thief invites her accomplices over and shows them a video of Nami, expressing the need to kill her before she learns their secrets. In another subplot, Nami's father is thinking about the girl who was supposed to visit his studio for a photo shoot and suspects she may be his daughter. Nami is forced to work in a physically demanding acting role to earn money. In the second half of the fight scene, she's being brutally beaten but feels nothing. During a meal break, she notices the other actors eating large amounts of meat and she isn't happy with her food. When she complains to the director, he dismisses her as a newcomer who shouldn't expect star treatment. Naomi becomes furious and sarcastically lashes out, criticizing him for only standing behind the camera. She storms off to get food for herself and her fellow new actors, forcing the food truck to serve them. Chal goes to visit Nami's tent but doesn't find her there. His friend sends him information about Nami's real identity. She comes from a wealthy family. Later, Nami visits the man she beat up in the hospital and reveals that his wife found out about the other woman he's been seeing. She gives him the money she earned from her acting job, only to witness the other woman show up, and Nami reacts by violently breaking his bones. Meanwhile, the female thief and her crew arrive at Nami's tent with weapons, intending to kill her, but she isn't there. They start wrecking her tent instead. Sensing the destruction from afar, Nami rushes to the scene and confronts the thieves. She demands that they restore her tent, but they refuse, with one of them insulting her. Nami, enraged, grabs the offender by the neck and tosses him into water. The rest of the thieves flee in terror, but Nami catches them one by one and throws them into the air. Chal arrives at the scene, amazed by her superhuman strength. Nami's street friends begin to cry because they know they will have to return to their life on the streets. Nami wants to follow them, but Chal stops her and takes her back to his house. Inside, Nami behaves as if she's at home, even going straight to take a shower, which surprises Chal. He calls Nami's mother and informs her that he has information about her daughter. When Nami steps out of the shower, Chal is struck by her beauty and starts to develop feelings for her. He tells Nami that he has found her family, and her mother has been searching for her for 20 years. Later, he gives Nami his room to sleep in and promises her mother that they will reunite in the morning. After Nami's mother receives the call, she becomes overwhelmed with joy, crying out of happiness because she's finally found her daughter after such a long time. In her excitement, she quickly calls Nami's father to share the good news. Upon hearing it, he's overcome with emotion and also starts to cry from the joy of knowing that their daughter has been found. The next morning, Chal brings Nami new clothes to meet her mother. Nami is grateful and puts on the outfit, excited to see her mom. As she heads to the meeting spot, she notices a burning building with no firefighters in sight and children trapped inside. Nami decides to save the kids, entering the building despite the fire engulfing everything. She rescues 2 children by jumping through a window with them in her arms. Meanwhile, her mother arrives but is stuck in traffic due to a jam, so she uses her powers to clear the way. When she arrives, she sees Nami saving people from the fire and instantly realizes that this must be her daughter. Together, they help the rescue efforts. When Nami sees her mother for the first time, she immediately recognizes her and reaches out for a hug. But suddenly, a gas tank explodes and Nami falls from the window. Her mother dives after her and saves her from the fall just in time. Nami awakens in her mother's arms and they embrace emotionally. Nami's mother wipes her face and leads her to the car, overwhelmed with happiness that they've finally reunited. As they talk, her mother asks how Nami learned to speak Korean so fluently, given that she grew up in Mongolia. Nami explains that her adoptive family helped her learn Korean, hoping that one day she would return to her birth family. Her mother is touched and vows to build a big house for Nami's adoptive family in Mongolia to show her gratitude. Nami agrees, but mentions that her adoptive family might not be willing to leave Mongolia because they love it there. Nami's mother promises to meet the people who raised her and later takes Nami to meet her 2 friends who helped her. Overjoyed, her mother gives them 200 million won as a reward for their support. She also hands them her business card and tells them to contact her if they ever need anything, including a place to stay. Nami and her mother then go to the family home, where Nami meets her grandmother and embraces her warmly. Her father arrives, expressing his happiness that Nami is truly his daughter. He tearfully apologizes for his role in her being lost. Nami also reunites with her twin brother, and the whole family celebrates her return. The next scene, we see Nami talking to her mother, who explains that the powers Nami possesses have been passed down through their family. She warns that if Nami uses them for evil, she will lose her abilities. Nami promises her mother that she will use her powers for good. Later, Nami calls her adoptive family in Mongolia and informs them that she has found her birth family. She assures them that she'll never forget them and plans to visit soon. The following day, Nami's mother prepares a special meal that Nami used to love as a child. The entire family, including Nami's father and brother, joins them for a happy family photo. At the same time, we see a wealthy businessman named Huang, who is secretly a dangerous drug lord. He's planning to exploit Nami's powers for his criminal empire. Meanwhile, the female thief learns that the police are after her, so she seeks help from a criminal gang and buys a new identity. She then sees one of Huang's ads for recruiting women and decides to apply. Naomi's friends have cleaned up their act, and when she visits them, they thank her and express how grateful they are for meeting her. Naomi's mother also meets Chal to pick up Naomi's belongings from his house. She offers him a large sum of money as a reward, but he declines. Instead, he asks her to help him take down the drug lords. Chal's mother unexpectedly enters the room and misinterprets the situation, thinking her son is involved with an older woman for money. She insults Nami's mother, but when she sees the check for a huge amount, she sarcastically tells her son to sell yourself as you like. That night, Nami's mother sends Chal information, directing him to investigate Huang. Chal arrives at the police station and discovers that a man he had arrested earlier has been found dead, with a snake next to his body. Chal realizes this is part of a bigger conspiracy. He decides to go undercover in Huang's company to find out the truth. Meanwhile, Nami puts on a new outfit to meet Chal, and he's stunned by her beauty. They have a meal together, where Chal mentions that he'll be busy in the coming days with a major drug case. Nami offers to help, but Chal refuses, not wanting her to get hurt. To convince him of her capabilities, Nami demonstrates her strength by bending a spoon with just one finger. Chal, impressed, agrees to let her join him. Nami and Chal disguise themselves and apply for jobs at Huang's company. They are accepted, with Chal ending up in a lower position. After only one day on the job, Nami gets frustrated and quits, but the next day she carries all the crates by herself, shocking her co-workers with her incredible strength. The entire staff begins to respect her from that point on. Meanwhile, the female thief is also working at the company and is terrified that Nami might recognize her. Nami and Chal are assigned to transport the crates. On the way, Nami spots the female thief and demands that she return her stolen items. Instead of apologizing, the thief insults Nami, calling her a fool. Chal fears Nami might get violent, but she reassures him that she doesn't kill women. Nami grabs her purse and tosses it far away, leaving the thief humiliated. That night, Nami and Chal break into Huang's storage facility to search for drugs. Nami's mother arrives on her motorcycle to help investigate the company. Nami uses her strength to open the large store door, and as they enter, she locks the door behind them. Chal is in awe of her abilities once again. Chal puts on night vision goggles to see in the dark and also hands a pair to Nami. But to his surprise, Nami can see perfectly well without the goggles. Nami begins leaping around and eventually grabs a box that contains a mask, which she intends to investigate. At that moment, another box almost falls on Chal, but Nami saves him at the last second, though she falls in the process. Chal, however, begins feeling weak, and he senses that he can no longer move properly. His friend, a soldier who is waiting outside, thinks that Chal is just distracted and doesn't take it seriously. Naomi emerges carrying Chal, but Chal feels embarrassed and asks his friend not to tell anyone what just happened. Then Naomi leaves. Meanwhile, Nami's mother senses that someone is following her. She stops in the street and confronts the man, asking, "What do you want from me?" The man replies, "Come with me if you want to change the world." Though confused, she agrees to follow him. He takes her to a restaurant by the sea, where another person with a similar financial situation is waiting. The man then explains that he and her brother have formed an organization with the goal of changing the world. They are gathering people like her, people with wealth, to use their money for good and to keep an eye on corrupt business people. Nami's mother is thrilled to meet others who think like her and immediately joins the organization. Chal offers to take Nami home, but she refuses, saying, "I can manage, don't worry about me." Chal thanks her for helping with the case, and she responds that she's ready to help others and spread goodness. As they part ways, Chal finds himself growing more fond of her. Later, when Nami arrives home, she receives a message from Chal, expressing his care for her, which makes her very happy. The next day, a police officer visits Chal, an employee of the Huang company, and offers to give him information about a female thief, but only if they promise him a reward. However, the thief overhears their conversation and threatens to kill him. The man quickly hangs up the phone. Later, a policewoman contacts Chal, warning him about the report they received and urging him to be careful, both for himself and Nami. She even calls one of the criminals and informs him that Nami is working against them, asking him to kill her. But the criminal tells her to leave and save herself because Nami is incredibly powerful. Despite this warning, the woman refuses to back down, determined to take revenge because of her deep hatred for Nami. At this point, Nami is enjoying her work, feeling fulfilled. The man in charge of the organization is fascinated by her strength and begins taking photos, curious about the source of her power. He starts to believe that her secret lies in the Mongolian food she eats. Naomi, however, becomes annoyed by the constant questions and sarcastically says that the secret to her strength is raw meat. The man believes her and even begins eating like her, hoping to gain the same abilities. Naomi joins Chal on a mission to return the boxes to the store, and Chal warns her to be careful of the girl who's pretending to work for them. But Naomi, showing compassion, says, "I've already forgiven her. She may have been forced into this situation." Chal, worried for Naomi, replies, "Don't trust people so easily." The police continue to investigate the mask they took from the company, but they find nothing unusual. They then call Chal and tell him to stop his current mission and leave the company because his presence there is no longer necessary. Later, at a restaurant, the owner rudely orders them to take the boxes to the kitchen, even though that's not their job. The owner threatens to file a complaint, saying the customer is always right. Nami, growing angry, wants to fight him, but Chal holds her back. Chal eventually picks up the box, afraid that Nami will attack the owner. As they leave, the restaurant owner insults Nami, calling her a failure and saying she will never be more than a delivery person. This enrages Nami, and she vows to make him regret those words. After placing the box in the kitchen, Nami tells Chal to leave, promising that she'll handle the situation. She returns to the restaurant, pretending to be a customer. She sits down confidently, acting as though she owns the place, and says, "The customer is always right." This angers the owner, who yells at her to leave and get out of his restaurant. Instead, Naomi grabs the chair and breaks it with her bare hands. The owner, now terrified by her strength, begins to panic and ends up doing whatever she demands. In the end, Nami claims what's rightfully hers through sheer power and fearlessness. Before leaving, Nami hands over the money for the food and the broken table. She begins to yell, "Make sure you don't mock delivery workers again." Afterward, Chal returns to the station and receives information about the thief, discovering that she's actually an orphan and the only girl in a dangerous gang. Soon after, he gets a report about a swimming coach who died under mysterious circumstances, so he goes to investigate the body. When he questions one of the students, they reveal that recently, the coach had been drinking an unusual amount of water, almost obsessively, to the point of avoiding the swimming pool out of fear. More similar deaths follow, and it becomes clear that drugs from the Huang company are behind them. Naomi decides to sneak into the Huang store to find proof, but she sees Huang himself standing there, visibly showing signs of drug use. When she approaches, he throws her far across the room. Naomi is shocked by his immense strength. She goes to her mother's office and tells her what happened. Her mother shows her a picture of Huang, and Naomi confirms it's the same man who threw her. Her mother is proud that Naomi is standing up against evil and invites her to work with her in their mission to cleanse the country of drugs. Naomi agrees and promises to wipe out the criminal networks. The next day, Chal tries to uncover more about the drugs. He notices one of the company managers drinking large amounts of water and soon realizes that the drug causes the user to drink excessive amounts of water, which spreads the drug throughout their body until it kills them. Chal stops the manager from drinking more. Meanwhile, Huang discovers Nami's identity by watching a video of her carrying the boxes from the airport and the store. He's excited to have found her and digs up more information about her. Naomi's mother meets with Chal and offers to help with the drug investigation, promising to provide him with intel on Huang and even help her daughter. She notices Chal seems worried about Naomi and asks if he has feelings for her, but he doesn't respond. Meanwhile, Naomi is focused on her mission to find the drugs. Suddenly, the thief girl from earlier shows up behind her. Naomi tells her that she and her mother have already forgiven her, but the girl walks away silently. Back at work, everyone is talking about Naomi's incredible strength, and the management is curious how someone so young could be that powerful. They suspect she's hiding something. The thief girl, feeling jealous of all the attention Nami is getting, grows more resentful. Huang, meanwhile, meets with Nami's manager and asks him to send him daily videos of her. He claims to want to help her because she has a special gift. The manager, believing him, agrees. While working, one of Nami's colleagues accidentally gets electrocuted. Despite others trying to help, no one can save him. Nami rushes over and, using her strength, stops the current with her foot. Her colleagues are grateful, but the thief girl grows even more envious seeing how much people adore Nami. Later, the manager calls the thief girl and yells at her for nearly hitting a customer. She defends herself, saying the man tried to grope her, but the manager insults her, saying she's jealous of people with money. The thief girl, infuriated, bites her tongue to avoid further conflict, fearing for her job. Naomi's mother returns home to find her son and husband doing nothing but eating. She urges them to go to the gym, and her son responds, "We're not as strong as you." She forces her son to join the gym, hoping he will lose weight. Later, her son goes to his father and confesses, "I hate myself. Everyone teases me for being overweight." His father apologizes for neglecting him while he was focused on searching for Nami and promises to support him. Meanwhile, Chal is back at the station, and the manager's condition is worsening. The manager asks for water, but Chal prevents him from drinking, knowing it will only make things worse. The manager then collapses and Chal rushes to take him to the hospital, but the manager refuses, saying, "If I go to the hospital, they'll think I'm a drug addict and my reputation will be ruined." Chal is forced to take him home and ties his hands to prevent him from drinking water. Desperate, Chal searches the internet for ways to detoxify the body. Suddenly, the manager breaks free of his restraints and attacks Chal with inhuman strength, attempting to strangle him. Right when it seems like Chal will die, Nami appears and saves him, but the manager turns his aggression on her. Nami tries to subdue him without causing serious injury and manages to pin him down with a chair. Chal restrains him again and asks Nami to go to the store to find an antidote for the drug. She leaves with her friends from the streets and they search the store. At the store, Naomi and her friends overhear the manager's voice and hide, but Naomi mistakenly believes he's gone and steps out, only to find him standing right in front of her. She yells in surprise, accidentally throwing him across the room. While they search for the antidote, Huang meets with the drug manufacturers and learns that the drug affects the human brain, giving people superhuman strength but eventually killing them. There is no known cure except for one antidote that only Huang possesses. The next day, Chal notices that the manager seems normal again, so he unties him. However, Chal cuts off the water supply to the house to prevent him from relapsing. But the symptoms return, and the manager starts searching for water in desperation, eventually locking himself in the bathroom to drink from the taps. Chal leaves to find Nami, and when Nami sees him, she says, "I missed you." Chal is overjoyed to hear this. Meanwhile, the thief girl watches from afar, burning with jealousy over their relationship. In a fit of rage, she rushes at them with a knife, intending to stab Nami in front of everyone. But Nami easily disarms her, throwing the knife far away. Nami confronts the girl, asking, "Why do you hate me so much? What have I done to you?" The girl responds, "If you hadn't shown up, I would have had a family by now." Chal tells her that he has no choice but to arrest her for attempted murder in front of an officer. The girl, having broken her leg when Nami threw her, is taken away in handcuffs. Meanwhile, Nami's mother meets with Huang to uncover his true agenda. She visits his office, pretending to be unaware of his schemes. They agree to a wager, where the loser must grant the winner's request. Both are incredibly intelligent, but Nami's mother eventually wins. She requests to invest in his company, aiming to get closer to discovering how the drugs are made. Huang, suspicious, asks if she has the money. Smiling, Nami's mother shows him a flash drive containing her fortune before leaving. Nami's father is at the studio, placing her picture outside. Her brother approaches and says, "If Mom sees this, she'll be upset. She doesn't want her to be recognized and put in danger." The father replies, "Your mother always makes things bigger than they are." They leave together to grab lunch, but the father notices his son isn't eating properly. His son admits that he wants to change and has been taking weight loss pills. Meanwhile, Chal meets with Nami and reminds her, "Didn't I tell you not to trust people?" Nami tries to change the subject and asks, "Where's your boss?" Chal calls his boss, who assures him that he's fine now, hasn't had any water today, and wants to return to work. Chal is still unsure about his health but is relieved that he seems better. Later, we see Nami's boss in his office, feeling extremely thirsty. He reaches into his drawer and secretly consumes more drugs. Elsewhere, Nami's mother meets with a wealthy contact, who reveals that Huang used to work with Russian gangs before starting his company. Soon after, Huang approaches Nami's boss and shows him a video of her throwing the thief girl. He's impressed by Nami's strength and insists that he meet her. His assistant then informs him that Nami's mother is among the richest people who can fund any project. Nami's boss then meets her and tells her that the higher-ups want to meet her because of the fight she was in. She calls Chal and tells him about it, but he's worried. "I'll go with you. Wait for me," he says. But Nami, determined to find out more about the drugs, tells him, "Don't worry about me," and leaves. At the office, Nami pretends it's her first time meeting Huang. She apologizes for the fight, and Huang pretends to be impressed by her. He asks if she'd like to have dinner that night, but Nami declines, saying she's busy, and instead asks for his number, promising to call him. After leaving, she calls Chal and tells him everything. He's shocked that she managed to get Huang's number and tells her to wait for him. He meets her and checks to make sure she's okay. They spend some time together, but Huang watches them from a window and becomes jealous of their relationship. Chal then takes Nami to see her father, but when they arrive, her father asks, "Is there something between you two?" Chal is caught off guard and quickly says, "We're just friends." They say their goodbyes, and Chal leaves. Naomi's father takes her to a playground, trying to make up for the lost moments of her childhood. They play with all the equipment, laughing and bonding. Later, Naomi carries him on her back like a child, which amuses onlookers who start taking pictures. As the day ends, they sit down together, and her father apologizes for making her live far from the family all those years. Naomi reassures him, promising to always be there for him. Meanwhile, Huang receives a report that Naomi's mother has found her daughter, who had been missing for 20 years. But when he sees Naomi's picture, he realizes he doesn't know her at all. Naomi's mother had hidden her identity to protect her. That night, Chal returns to the station and asks his colleague to hack into Huang's system to gather information on where the drugs are stored and who's buying them. As he leaves the station, he receives a message from Naomi's mother inviting him to a party at their home. The next day, Chal arrives at Naomi's house where her entire family is present. He introduces himself as Naomi's friend and is warmly welcomed, treated as if he were part of the family. Suddenly, Naomi's mother's assistant claims she's pregnant and accuses Naomi's father of being the father. Naomi's father is shocked and tries to defend himself. Just then, Naomi's mother pretends to faint, and everyone rushes to her aid. The lights go out, and it's revealed that it was all a joke for her birthday celebration. Chal is stunned by their sense of humor while the festivities begin. Naomi's mother starts singing, and her voice is incredibly beautiful. Chal feels like he's part of a family, sharing in their joy. Later, Chal takes Nami to the upper part of the house where they talk. Chal opens up about losing his younger brother in America, which deeply affects Nami. Nami's mother watches from afar, happy to see the bond between them. The next day, Naomi receives a call from Huang, asking her to meet him at his office. When she arrives, Huang says, "Leave your store job and join my secret team." Naomi agrees, but Huang warns her that she must first pass a test. He drives her to the store and drops a huge boulder in front of her. Nami struggles to push it back, but it's incredibly heavy. She's forced to use all the strength she has, sensing danger. At the same time, her mother and grandmother feel that Nami is in trouble. Her mother grabs her motorcycle and rushes to save her. Here is the end of Season 1. Subscribe for more videos like this one.